Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and it's time for Chapter 7 of the Return to Dominaria storyline, as they're titling it themselves. I'm not just making up that name sarcastically. Oh, ha ha ha, return to Zendikar, return to Innistrad. Okay, at this point, the joke's old. They called it Return to Ravnica. I don't think that they're calling anything else Return to ever again. But what we are returning to is the story, written by Martha Wells, of course. From all of her social media stuff, looks like she's a social justice warrior type who's into gender pronouns and all this other made up pro mental illness bullshit. So, of course, that's who Wizards got to write the story. But she does know how to write. Although if she thinks she's being clever trying to hide the fact and the little subtle hints that they're totally going to kill Raph, no. I'm on to you, bitch. Anyway, heard a bit of a rumor, not sure if it's substantiated or not because I haven't read it yet, but this may be some kind of prequel clip show episode, kind of, I guess. Anyway, you guys want to see an example of writing so unbelievably like poetic and flowery and nice sounding that you don't actually know what's actually happening in the story? Let's read the intro. Teferi walked out to the beach before dawn to where he could see Zhalfir reflected in the sunrise. He wasn't the only one. So Zhalfir is actually there, so this is before it disappeared, right? If you stood in the right place on the shoreline, if the weather was just the right balance between overcast and bright sunlight, the ghost of Zhalfir's coastline was visible. Okay, ghost seems odd, but okay. I mean, maybe it's not really there, but he's seeing it. Maybe it's like I don't know. The translucent gleaming towers and domes floated as if on clouds above the sea. Okay, so stuff is white and it's like cloudy out, whatever. But this must be before he made it disappear, right? Wrong. It was a pilgrimage still made here before by many of the inhabitants of Femeref and other parts of Jamura. Some came to honor ancestors lost when the rift occurred. Oh wait, he's there with other pilgrims after the rift occurred, or as I like to call it, after Teferi caused the rift on purpose? Yeah, phrasing it passively like that, you ain't fooling anybody. So is Zhalfir really there or not? Can you see it or not? Was it sucked into a void or not? Was it phased out of reality or not? Make up your damn mind. I hate it when stories open and I can't tell what is, from a practical sense, actually happening or when it's happening. Well, anyway, Teferi was standing alone because he figured, I don't want anybody to recognize me. But as the centuries passed, he said, well, the chances of anybody recognizing him went down and down and down. I guess he didn't kind of keep a high profile lately. And plus, on the box, he looks like Charlie Murphy, and on the booster packs, he looks like Kanye. Don't tell me you haven't noticed that. How the hell are people supposed to recognize him if one time he looks like Kanye, one time he looks like Charlie Murphy? So he stopped into a town called, we'll say Suwa. I feel like they wouldn't name it that. It's probably like Siwa or something, but otherwise it just sounds like a really short version of sewer. So anyway, stopped in this wonderful sounding town, and all the pilgrims going on their little pilgrimage, they gave it all kinds of like basically almost tourist activity. So all the inns were, hopping. And apparently he gave the proprietor of the place where he was staying his actual name. Brilliant idea, to which he replied, oh, it must be a real trial to be named after the destroyer of Zhalfir. Who would name you that? That's so silly. Yeah, it's him. Oh, come on. Kathy Griffin doesn't even use her own name when she checks into a damn hotel room. Are you dumb? So he makes up this whole story. Oh, it's an old family name and nobody wanted to offend my great-grandmother, so they named me Teferi. And just tell him your name's John. I mean, come on. So they have like a whole market set up. I mean, they literally turned this into like a tourist trap. It said the market bustled with activity with stalls under colorful awnings selling all sorts of food and drinks and trinkets to the pilgrims. Now, it didn't say that they were specifically selling Teferi bobbleheads with like a giant head on top, and then on the bottom it says Destroyer of Zhalfir, but it doesn't say they didn't though. So I'm going to assume that they did sell those. Somebody set that shop up. So Teferi was like, oh yeah, I mean, everybody's mad, but I totally did the right thing. But then he downgraded it from that to, I did the right thing at the time, maybe not now. I believe the way this went was, oh, Zhalfir has the highest technology and best army. Oh, look, the Phyrexians are invading. Oh, Urza wants them to fight Zhalfir first because Zhalfir has the best chance of beating them. Cool, I'm going to phase them all out. Why should Zhalfir have to go to war? War is scary. And then look at the results. I mean, the Phyrexians almost took over the whole damn plane. He's literally every hipster, dumbass, like Vietnam War protester ever. War is so bad, war is bad, let's work it out with our words. Have you seen Communism? Do you even know what that is? It does say that he's pretty darn certain that Zalfir kept on, like, going. Like, he didn't freeze it in time, he didn't remove it from the time stream, even though that's exactly what they said he did, so I don't really get that. But, boy, I sure hope he phased out some farmland with it. I still don't know if Zalfir is a city or a continent. I don't know. Sounds like a city. I don't know. But, like, I hope there's an iron mine somewhere close. I hope there's a copper mine somewhere close. I sure hope there's a quarry somewhere close that he phased out as well. Or they are out of literally everything at this point. I mean, I'm sure the Zalfir have a wonderful recycling program at this point because they would be forced to, but if he just phased out the city and a little bit of room around it, they're all dead. They starve to death, okay? So he goes from, lately he had begun to feel that the decision was self-serving at best. It had been the right decision at the time, but now he is no longer sure. Well, it's not as if you can do anything about it, he told himself, weary with this internal argument. His Planeswalker Spark had been needed to repair Shiv's time rift. Also, he phased out Shiv, I think, so same mistake twice, to prevent devastating destruction, and he had no power now to return Zalfir. Don't cast spells that you can't undo. Or phase back in Zalfir first, then go repair Shiv. Order of operations, very important. So he's like, I made an entire city disappear, split up families, and probably everybody in the city's dead because I didn't phase them out with enough resources, probably. I'm adding that, by the way. Oh well, nothing I can do about it now. I lost my spark, not my problem. I mean, literally my fault, but not my problem. Hey, want to hear some more super transparent foreshadowing? Because my foreshadowing detection is at 100%. There were rumors that the Cabal was gaining strength outside Otaria, though no one was quite sure how or what had spurred their resurgence. Thanks for spoiling it on the card already, Wizards. Nicol Bolas was behind the Cabal. Oh, is that a big reveal at the end of the storyline? Well, then don't reveal it on a card. And so he's just sitting out on the patio at the hotel, and some lady just comes up to him. Oh, they say in the marketplace that you're called Teferi. Okay, first of all, the guy in the inn and people in the Teferi, do you just walk up? Hi, my name's Teferi. I'd like to buy some bread. Was that necessary? Did they need to know your name? Are you wearing a name tag? And secondly, bro, change your name or go by a nickname for God's sake. So the lady's with her husband, and because everything's about skin color on Dominaria and at Wizards of the Coast, he says from the darkness of their skin, they might be the children of Zalfiran families left behind when Teferi had created the Time Rift. Well, you know what that means. They were like, hey, guys with the best technology in this entire plane. The entire plane's under attack. Can you do something about it? Woo, phase them out. Oh, P.S., the answer is no, and P.P.S., I don't know how to bring it back. Sincerely, Teferi. But basically just took the blackest folks on the plane and separated them from everybody else. Martin Luther King gonna have something to say about this. Oh, and also, one thing leads to another. He's like, I wonder if they're long-lost descendants, and they ask my name. Oh, crap, they're probably here to kill me. So, dark skin, they're probably here to kill me. That's where this story accidentally went. In 3 sentences. So anyway, the man finally introduces himself. He says, I'm Quendi, this is Subira. So, look at those cards if you want to know what they look like. And honestly, with what I've been hearing about the print quality and the ink placement, I guess you would say, on Dominaria cards, they could literally be albino and they'd show up as jet black on the card. So if you want to gauge the blackness of somebody's skin right along with the storyline officially released by Wizards of the Coast, because remember, the most important character trait is the color of their skin. I don't know if the card artwork is the best place to go. You might want to find a digital copy, and even then it's up to your monitor. Maybe they should have just added an extra stat to every card, every creature or whatever, every spell that has a character on it with their exact, a number from 1 to 100 for their skin color. That way we know mathematically exactly how diverse they are making this game, and we can all appreciate it so much more. And then look at every single person, every storyline, every character in it through the context of skin color like they keep forcing on us. Wouldn't that be wonderful if they did that? I swear, social justice warriors are so stupid. It's like, how do they even get driver's licenses or jobs or learn how to speak? Why don't they just walk around grunting at each other? So out of nowhere, the lady Subira, she says, you were expecting a visit from a man called Maquette? And Teferi's like, no, you've got the wrong Teferi. No joke, that's what he says. Real popular name on Dominaria, is it? I mean, 5 of my friends are named Adolf. So he insists, no, I was not here to meet a man named Maquette. And they're like, really? weren't you? And he's like, no, I wasn't. And so, of course, they say, Maquette said that he was coming to see you, though. To which he replies, I can't help what Maquette says. You'll have to look for this Teferi person somewhere else. And then, in the biggest twist ever, Subiru says, we don't need to look for him elsewhere. He's dead. Dun, dun, dun. I actually think there is some pronoun confusion there. I think they meant Maquette is dead. Well, actually, no, that doesn't make sense. Why would they go looking for Teferi and ask him if he's Teferi if they think that Teferi's dead, which would seem to be what they said, because he says, what is this about? And they say, Maquette said he was coming to see you, that he was the reason he was traveling here from Sukata. I can't help what Maquette says. You'll have to look for him elsewhere. But they're not looking for Maquette. They're looking for Teferi because Maquette said that he was looking for Teferi. And then Subiru says we don't need to look for Teferi elsewhere. He's dead. And yet they're asking him if he's Teferi. Got all that? Because I sure as hell don't. So then he's just like, okay, why are you guys here? For real, though. And they said, I need to find out what happened at my caravan. Maquette was killed in our camp. So I guess they were talking about Maquette, even though they clearly were not, because the last referential pronoun used was Teferi talking about himself. Anyway, he said he was coming here to see someone called Teferi. How would you know that if he's dead? What did you ask him? They must have been traveling with him. I guess I have to fill in the gaps because they sure as hell aren't in this dialogue or anything happening in this chapter at all. So Teferi's just like, yeah, I don't know who this Maquette person was. So yeah. How was he killed though? And Quendy says, by magic, or at least that's what the caravan's physician believes. So Teferi's like, magic? I love magic. What kind of magic? And then Quendy's like, we're not sure. None of us is a mage. Are you? And Subira is just like super suspicious. They're both like totally like, this is definitely Teferi. And Teferi's like, these are definitely scam artists or like assassins or something. And Teferi just doesn't answer the question. He's like, it sounds like you guys need a magistrate, which I guess is some kind of investigator, court person. I don't know. Now this is where it gets interesting though, because he's like, okay, so, why did your physician think that magic was what killed him? Because they aren't 100% sure, obviously. And Quendy says, because it's been 2 days and his body's not showing any sign of rot, I know that the obvious solution is he's still alive. Good, at least they're not that dumb. But he's not breathing and he's cold as a stone. And then Teferi, because he's an idiot and likes to blow his cover, says, oh, perhaps I could take a look, after purposely not answering when they asked if he was a mage. Come on. And so instantly Subiru's like, so you are a mage then? And Teferi just like, he's like, whoops, did that slip out? And he just tries to cover. He's like, oh, I'm just a scholar. I know about a lot of things. So Subiru just kind of goes with it, and they're like, all right, whatever. Just come take a look at him, poke him with a stick or something. And so when they get to the outside camp where they're all, all the caravan people are, staying in tents and all that and camped out, they said, yeah, we moved the body like out here because everybody insisted, because they're like, oh, we might, catch whatever he died of. And the Teferi's like, yeah, that's wise. There are death spells intended to spread to everyone who touches the victim. And Subiru just is like, what? I'm so sure that since they made it so clear that, oh, they're black, they're super black. Hey guys, did you know they're black? They're super, super duper black. They said it like 5 times in the damn story. I'm so sure that line wasn't a cheap shot about Ebola. Thanks, Martha. By the way, in case you're not looking at the artwork from the story, which if you are, just read the story, my version sucks, it's pulled by an elephant. Because of course it is. So when Teferi sees him, within seconds, he just automatically rules out the possibility of like natural paralysis, poison, or any of that, using the amazing deductive abilities of Because Story. I mean, they really didn't explain. They're just like, oh, well, it's not that. Like, literally, it's like, oh, well, it could be this, but it's not. He knew that it wasn't. I'm not going to tell you why, but he knew that it wasn't. But he did determine, yes, your physician was correct. This isn't a natural death. Dun, dun, dun. I'm way too lazy to go download that actual sound effect. So Teferi has immediately determined that somebody has performed a spell or used a poison on your poor Maquette to not only steal the life from his body, but to suspend and preserve it. It's done in such a way to make it look like time magic. Which, I mean, come on, if you guys didn't see that coming, I mean, come on, they're beating you in the face with it. But Teferi says, well, if this was time magic, he would be suspended and seem to not move or breathe, but he would be alive, technically, and his body would still be warm. And then, oh, get ready for this break in logic. Also, time magic also takes effort to maintain and can't be held indefinitely. Yeah, except Zelfir, apparently. So then Teferi just shrugs and says, so if I was going to kill a man, I certainly wouldn't use time magic, at least not in this way. And then he says, I know you think I did this. That's why you came looking for me. That actually explains the complete break in logic where they're like, oh yeah, he died. So then we asked him where he was going. And so Subiru's just like, yeah, so did you kill him though? And he's like, no, I did not. So they gathered that, okay, somebody sent Maquette to go find Teferi. They figured he'd be on a Zalfir pilgrimage, or he was spotted in one of the cities, bouncing around between cities or whatever. So then why would they kill him beforehand unless that was the point? He was collateral damage and the whole point was to get him there. And hello, do you smell a trap yet? So then Teferi's like, did you guys search his belongings at all for any kind of clue or anything? A journal, weird magical items, poisoned food. And they're like, no, because we were pretty sure you killed him. So then they're like, okay, I've got a different theory. Maybe Maquette was sent to kill you, and that's why he was looking for you. And additionally, you're the actual Teferi, not just somebody named Teferi. So he basically admits it, and then they go back and forth with, oh, this is why I did it, and then, oh yeah, the war was terrible, and blah, 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 and, maybe I did the right thing, maybe I didn't, blah, blah, blah. Okay, back on track. They come up with another theory. Maybe Maquette discovered a plan for somebody to try to kill Teferi, and then he was traveling there to try to warn him, but the person trying to kill Teferi found out about it and killed Maquette first. And maybe Maquette is secretly Teferi's twin brother, and Teferi has amnesia, and he's pregnant. But then he killed him in a way that made it look like it was time magic, so that you go to the magistrate accuses me of the crime, and they try and lock me up, and then the assassin gets to me in prison, or something like that. So then suddenly somebody bursts into the tent and they're like, sandstorm, because, of course. And there is a Hurricane Katrina level sandstorm, and Teferi's like, well, Siwa might survive because they have walls. Survive. That's the baseline now because this is such a big storm. But anything outside, people, cattle, any kind of livestock, anything, they're about to get nuked. And they kind of need that for, the next season, which is probably winter. They could have just said winter. So Teferi's like, yeah, I think this isn't a coincidence. They wanted to draw me here and then try and hit me with a sandstorm because that's totally gonna work. I question this person's motives. Or I should say methods, obviously, or intelligence. So Teferi casts an area of no time is passing right in front of him, just a little 10 by 10 wall, and then expands it huge into this, I guess, snowplow shape or something. Around the whole town, the caravan, all the tents, everything, and the sand just hits it and just kind of goes left and right and around it. So it's okay, there you go. You don't need to freeze the entire sandstorm because he already said he couldn't. It's too big. But it would just divert it. Pretty clever, but he really overexerts himself, so he is definitely not untapping during the next untap phase. So a bunch of, angry villagers basically from the town are like, okay, who summoned the sandstorm? And then immediately a couple people are like, it was Teferi, this guy, it's him. And then other people are like, oh no, he's the one who just saved us. Duh, did you not see him casting that giant spell? He's the one who saved us. Why would he save us from his own spell? That doesn't make any sense. So then Subira kind of puts two and two together and she's like, okay, so who ran into town and told you guys to come out here because one of us caused this, apparently? And they're like, oh, that would be Quendi. And Subira's like, Quendi, the guy that I was just traveling with? Oh, crap. So Teferi puts it together too. He's like, oh yeah, Quendi, you mean the guy that told you that Maquette came here to look for me, even though that was unconfirmed. And he said the Maquette told him I was a time mage, which clearly he didn't. And he's like, yeah, I get it. So he thinks Maquette was just an innocent victim, some random pilgrim traveling here who Quendi had befriended, and then he just made him part of the whole plan, and then he made up everything that he said. Maquette had never heard of Teferi, obviously, but then once Teferi had been taken in by the magistrates and their mages, the sandstorm would have already destroyed the evidence, because it would have been like, oh, look, Teferi, time mage, woo, because who would put that together? Nobody knows who he is. Really dumb idea, by the way. And then, ta-da, no more caravan people with witnesses that could contradict whatever Quendi told them. So, Subira's mad because she was traveling with him. And she's like, I've been a fool. He's lied to me all along. Rawr. And so then, in the worst line in this entire thing, this is just gimme blah progression, whatever, who cares? Let's just add some dialogue. Subira turns to Teferi and says, freeze time and run. Really, she's that familiar with time mages all of a sudden. She just that popped right into her head, and she's known that he was a time mage for about 10 seconds. Cool. Well, Teferi says I can't. Not now. Oh boy, what a coincidence, because, get it, he used all of his, we'll say, mana on stopping the sandstorm. Now he can't use his little time magic. So she's like, okay, then just like run and hide or whatever. And then as he's running, just out of nowhere, boom, sword. And he's like, okay, that's not good. Oh, and then he suddenly finds the amazing inspiration. He must have top decked a land or something to use his mana or his spell energy or whatever they want to call it. Well, they do call them like mana ley lines. Anyway, he accelerates time around, well, it's Quendi, by the way, trying to stab him, obviously, because the whole plan went tits up. So he's like, yeah, I'm just going to try and kill him with a sword. So he makes his sword just turn into rust by accelerating time around it, which he can apparently now do. Boy, them magical batteries refill awfully quick for Teferi, huh? So then Quendi conveniently pulls out 2 large knives made out of crystal. And holds them wrong, by the way, if you look at the artwork. You wouldn't have to be an elite trained warrior to hold a knife like that, but you would have to be an idiot. So Teferi just like totally fronts, he like gets out his staff and then stands like he's gonna just blast him with some like freaking level 99 time spell. But he's like, yeah, no, I actually pretty much could maybe get 1 or 2 little spells off before I just collapse entirely because I'm out of energy. But let's not tell Quendi that. So he just starts talking because, you know, talking is the greatest time waster ever when you're trying to stall for like, I don't know, recovering your energy or whatever. So he's just like, Quendi, I thought we were friends. Why you do this? And then, of course, Quendi's like having none of it. He's like, it was the only way to get to you. Traitor, destroyer. And then he, you know, jumps at him because, you know, why give him time to recharge? That would be stupid. Oh, by the way, Teferi was right. They were just black enough to be from Zekir, Zelfir, whatever, the disappeary place. Because he's like, who are you? And finally he's like, oh, my ancestor was Majida the Lion. He was in Kapama when you destroyed it. Which, okay, clearly everybody knows at this point he did not destroy it, even though he got the nickname Destroyer of Zelfir. I think they all know, oh, Time Rift, it's kind of still there, kind of isn't, you know. And Teferi's as pissed off as I am because he says it wasn't destroyed, and Quendi just says, liar. And then at that moment, Subira shows up with the town guard, basically. What do they keep calling them? The drovers? I don't know what the hell a drover is. I've never heard that word. We'll go with town guards. And she grabs his arm with a whip and, you know, ties him up or whatever. And they're like, you're under arrest for murder, dick. And Subira's just like, I'm very disappointed in you. I mean, your ancestors, you killed this poor Maquette guy. And he's like, Maquette was a thief and a murderer. I would never kill an innocent person. Except for the entire caravan with the sandstorm. Of course, Quendi's like, oh, I knew he would just like, you know, magically stop the storm. And that was the plan all along. And so finally, nearly at the end of the chapter, they finally explain it. Finally, Teferi says, hey, idiot. Okay, I added that. Zelfir is not destroyed. Go to the beach with the other pilgrims and look at it. It's still there. If I could return it, you know, like phase it back in or whatever, basically, I'd give my life to do it right this instant. But I can't. I don't have the power anymore. It's impossible. So calm your tits. It's still there. So someone else is like, Subira, the magistrates are coming. We need to go. And she says, get in my wagon. I'll go ahead with Teferi and meet you at our next stop. Oh, yeah, because everything's cool now. And Quendi's like, I won't let you take me away from him. I've waited too long. Blah, blah, blah. Blood feud. Blah, blah, blah. My ancestors. Blah, blah, blah. And Subira just drops her whip and she walks forward until she almost stood like right up in Quendi's face. And she says, then kill me because that's the only way you'll stop me. You're either a murderer or you're not, Quendi. Choose. And Teferi's like, oh, he gonna stab this bitch. So he's like, can you guys just back the hell down? Okay, if the magistrates are still on their way, what the hell are these drovers? What is a drover? Screw it, I'm looking it up. Okay, according to dictionary.com, a person who drives cattle or sheep to market. A dealer in cattle. So I guess she didn't show up at the town guard. I just assumed drover was a bureaucratic position or whatever. Nope, it's the shepherds who apparently are not playing around. And then blah, 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 arguing, blah, 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 and then they all roll away in a wagon or something. I don't know, whatever. Nobody gets stabbed. And it appears that maybe this entire episode was a flashback, which is virtually meaningless to the entire rest of the story, I would think, other than background information. So, you know, hey, okay. And so they flash forward to when Nyambe was, I guess, really young, because it says she was running in the court chasing the dragonflies. So unless the 50-year-old lady's doing that, I think this is a flashback. Oh, apparently when Sabira invited Teferi to like be the caravan guard with her, he was like, "Oh no, I'm not one to like settle down or anything. I travel around a lot. You know, I don't want to be your caravan bodyguard or whatever." And then flash forward a couple years and they're like married, and that's their daughter, Nyambe. So years later, he's like, "Yeah, I probably screwed up by phasing out Zalfir." He's kind of starting to realize that, and he's like, "Okay, I gotta undo this." So he's like, "Okay, what would have enough power?" "Oh yeah, my bro Urza. He probably has something that would do it." And that's it. So the whole chapter was leading up to why he started looking for like any kind of Urza's equipment, artifacts, whatever. And considering I think that they said Nyambe was around 50, this was like 45 years of searching for him to find, you know, whatever Urza's memorial or whatever, whoever the memorial statue is to, they never actually said, with all the puzzles and traps and all that. And I guess Urza knew to hide something time related from Teferi with extremely anti-Teferi traps and protections. So I'm sure there's a whole story there, but whatever. So that's the why. This whole chapter answers the why. It also answers the why of why there's 12 chapters, because they're not all chapters. That some of them are flashback episodes. But they're establishing the lore, so hey, whatever. So what'd you think of this story? Leave a comment down in the description below, and of course, whatever your prediction is for the future of the story, because I don't think me or anybody else has ever been right about anything pretty much ever. But hey, it's fun to try. I'll see you guys next video.